All right, welcome back to the breakdown or analysis of our former lead game designer's final interview about the game. This is the last time he's really talked about it. I haven't done a piece on this since the end of September. The first three parts are up and available on the channel, and they're about an hour or so long. The first three parts. I've gotten through almost about an hour of it. There's a couple sections left that I want to do and finish. Specifically before this year is out. So there's a couple more sections I want to run through here. It's been a little while since I've touched this, so I've had some time to go sit and breathe and watch what has become of the game, PlanetSide 2 itself. I've watched what Rel has gone on to do after that or after this. So it's been a few more months. Maybe that'll come up. I'm not really sure if it will or not. But yeah, I think last time where I left off last time, it's about where I am in the timestamp here. We were talking about basically Rel talking about losing his sense of wonder when it comes to games and how he has applied that to how he applied that to pumping a bunch of useless nonsense shit into this game in particular. And going along that train of thought, I guess we're going to continue here and move on.
The average player they just want to have fun and do crazy stuff.
They want to have an experience.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that the ambition of pushing out all these different kinds of updates and these different kinds of content, despite it being a very difficult challenge to appease everyone, I think that that is ultimately how you continue to grow the game. And I think that the
But for all the things that you did and the all the different ways that you tried to force into the game for different playstyles for people to play the game and all of this stuff that you jammed into the game to add as many playstyles as possible for people who just can't sit down and play a shooter game on PC. If all of that was designed to grow the game, why the fuck didn't the game grow? I mean, since you know so much and you're so prophetic and you understand how this shit works, man, and you've been at it for so long now, how come you never grew the game except for once during a global pandemic? How come your game never grew besides that one time? Now, that's got to be there's a pattern that I'm noticing here is that for the most part, your game lost players pretty much the entire time you were in charge of it, or the entire time really that your ideas were paramount and principal, uh, being developed for and being put in the game. Um, the game either stayed exactly the same or lost players. And the only time that you had sustained growth or real growth for the first time in almost a decade was during COVID. And then you lost all that within 3 months. And then since that time, it's been downhill. And as we've gone downhill, we see more and more ambition and ambitious things added to the game, and the downward slope and the downward trend doesn't stop. So I have to call bullshit on just adding more ways for people to play the game grew the game, because that is objectively fucking false, and you can't get around that. You might be able to say it's added people to the game that didn't play the game before, But at the same time, the people who are playing the game, is specifically the FPS part of the game, for the FPS part of the game, those people are going out. Imagine the house, right? You built the house that Rel built. Okay? Now, in the front door is coming a guy. Most people that come in the front door are people who have no business playing FPS games in the first place. And they come to the game because they see the back of the box experience, and they don't, not FPS players. Most of them seem to be like these generic shitty MMO players. You have these people that come in the front door, and they're like, oh, I can be invisible and be fucking completely useless and sit on a point AFK. Oh, I can drive around in a bus and collect cordium and build bases that interact in no way, shape, or form with the rest of the game. Awesome. Cool. I can play this one super niche continent that everybody hates, and I can drive a fucking boat around on this half-ass shitty water that we put into the game, on this vehicle that only works on one continent. And I can't remember the last time I actually saw one of these things in the game. That's what's coming in the front door, and then walking out of the back door are all the people like me who are actually dedicated fans of the franchise in general, and people who appreciate what the game can be in an FPS sense. All those people are walking out of the fucking door in exchange for welcoming in people who don't care about the game, don't play FPS games, don't even understand what kind of game they're getting into, who are, when you focus features, my thing here has always been, you can't be confused. Like, when I say the PlanetSide 2 player base is full of retarded shitters, it's because we cultivate an environment that welcomes retarded shitters into our game. And welcoming retarded shitters is something that this guy right here has done. It's been his main goal for the game the whole time. So we keep adding playstyles for retarded shitters. So retarded shitters come into the game and feel welcome, right? So you have stuff like construction. That's if you're coming to PlanetSide 2 to play construction, you're a retarded shitter. I'm sorry, it's nothing personal. That's just the reality of the situation. Now, when your game is totally welcoming to retarded shitters, and you don't care about all the other players in your game, those players eventually get disinterested and leave. Now, there's a big ass well of retarded shitters out there in the gaming community, and really, they're not coming to this game primarily. We get them, and they, some of them come to this game, but this game's messaging and fundamental, the way it tries to attract players, has always been so bizarre to me. And you sit here and waste all this time doing all this stupid niche shit to attract retarded shitters, and then you wonder why your game sucks. You wonder why nobody wants to play it, and you wonder why you can't grow the game. It's because it has a huge negative stink about it. From the people who are going out the back door, leaving reviews, you have a lot of these jaded people, and you might use the term jaded disparagingly, but most of these people have pretty accurate assessments of what's going on in the game, and they leave the game being frustrated. And you look at the state of the game that's this guy right here is directly responsible for, and you're just left like, what the fuck? That you actually thought that doing all this other shit that has nothing to do with the game and adding all these playstyles for retarded shitters was going to grow the game. I think we've had the results for that back like a long time ago. And one of the fundamental problems with this guy is, and I've said this 100 times on the channel, he doesn't learn. He has a learning disability. I don't know if it's diagnosed or not, but when it comes to developing for this game, he has a learning disability. And he hasn't learned that just making the game worse or adding a bunch of stupid playstyles for retarded shitters hasn't grown the game or made the game any better. It's plainly obvious to see that. And especially now, there's no escaping it. You guys can't escape that fact anymore. You guys that want to defend this guy for being ambitious, what did his ambition bring to this game? Besides dumb shit for retarded shitters. If you can answer that question without lying, then well, first of all, I'd love to see you try to answer that question without just outright lying. But I'd be interested to hear your answer.
The drawback of that is that those updates also need to be super solid.
Which none of them were.
And I don't know that we've hit that a lot
Never.
of times.
Nope.
Things do quite often feel very rushed or like they'll be missing,
But why is that?
something that like,
Yeah.
could be good, but you can't live off of, it could be good.
Right, and that's why you're not working on the game anymore. Because you did about 7 years of, well, it could be good, but in most cases, your ideas for the game don't even reach into the territory of could be good, because they don't. The territory that you reach is doesn't make sense for the fucking game that you're making. Why are you doing this territory? Not, well, it could be good. If you could get to that point, that'd be an upgrade of sorts, I suppose.
So I think that it was perhaps the right path to go down, and then we weren't quite executing on it the way that it needed to be executed on.
Yeah, but why did that happen consistently? Why did that happen? Why did that scenario play out over and over again?
In order to really propel the growth. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. That's just theory.
Yeah, but we're not talking crystal ball. We're talking about things that already happened. So no need for the crystal ball. The question here for Deeg is, why did that continue to happen? And that's not speculation. He just said it himself. We continually did that. Why did that continue to happen?
Wonder, though.
Yeah.
Why did that continue to happen?
Wonder. I like that. When I think about wonder in video games, the experience that I go back to is vanilla World of Warcraft. Because that game is so huge and weird. There are things around so many corners that are just like, what? I just found this random mound behind a thing and it has a trinket that does what? And you're always having those kinds of experiences. You never know what a quest is going to reward you with. I mean, I guess it
What the fuck does that have to do with PlanetSide 2 and its gameplay?
tells you, but like when you go into an area, you don't necessarily know if a quest is going to send you across the continent or across town. The formula for what to expect is unpredictable, and yeah, that causes some variance and some shitty experiences. But I think within the tension of uh, the unexpected delight and the negative noise, that tension is where the wonder lives, because you don't.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but the unexpected thing that's happening in PlanetSide 2, say you can break this down and go to one of the good things about the game that I will always give it credit for is that when you log in and play day to day, for the most part, you're going to have a different experience every day, for the most part. Now, you could look at the generalities and some vagaries here and say, well, yeah, I'm on this same continent and doing this and doing that. And in general, you're mostly doing the same thing. But when you get down to the granular details of it, you know, what you're doing, you're probably, well, I can't even say that because you're probably fighting at the same bases all the time because of where the pop is now. So you don't really get an opportunity to play around the map all that much. But in times past, when the game was in a healthier state, you could always say that you were going to log into PlanetSide and probably have a different experience than you had yesterday. That's one of the great things about the game is no 2 days of playing the game would be the same. That's true. In a previous time. But at the same time, the variance that you can have between day to day and battle to battle, that's not something that's unique to this game in particular. That's not something that PlanetSide 2 has a trademark on, because that happens in most. And I play multiple other FPS games even at the moment, and every day that I log in to any of these other games, the formula might be different when it comes to how I get into a match or how I get into a game, but in general, there's generally pretty high variance. So this whole thing about this is a benefit of this particular game. PlanetSide 2 does not have a trademark on variance and uniqueness and all that stuff. It all it does different is it has no restrictions on team balance and how many people you can have at a fight. That's about it. Um, Other than that, it's how that interacts with what the goals for the people playing and all that shit is. Like, it's a strong point, uh, because there's quite simply more places you can go. There's a lot of fucking bases in PlanetSide, the ones that haven't been ruined by this guy over the years. There's a lot of different areas that you can play at, but I mean, even then, for the most part, a lot of the buildings are exactly the same. Like it is formulaic, as Rel likes to point out about other games, and I think he pointed it out about WoW uh, in the previous piece, the last section that I did on this, towards the end. PlanetSide 2 is not really different. So to put this game up on a pedestal, quite simply because you have unlimited people, it doesn't. You get what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really make. I always say this to people, that it doesn't matter how many people you put on the screen. How many people you put on the screen is not. It's really mostly irrelevant to the gameplay, right? You can get a clusterfuck gameplay experience from, and a lot of people have been doing this for 20 plus years, in a Battlefield server with 64 players, 32 people on each team. You can get the same clusterfuck experience that a PlanetSide battle with 96 plus versus 96 plus can have, and often sometimes better, because there's a point of diminishing return when it comes to how many people you have in a particular engagement. And this is all dependent on map size and map creation and stuff like that. But there's a point of diminishing return where it really just makes everything worse the more people you have. And I think for a long time, Battlefield has been pretty good about, they know where the sweet spot is. That 64 players is probably the sweet spot for that. And they learned a very valuable lesson in 2042, where they tried to double the player count, and the game is significantly fucking worse dog shit. And I don't know if they'll learn this lesson, but the cost of doubling the amount of players on the screen was not worth it. So, yeah. A little bit of a tangent there, but the way we're talking about PlanetSide in terms of, to bring it all back, they're trying to talk about how PlanetSide has so many varied ways to play the game that adds so much to it. When at the end of the day, there's enough variance in multiple other games that this game doesn't. All this stupid shit that you've added into the game doesn't give it a variance that other games don't have. And in the grand sense of things, your game is pretty dog shit, irrelevant, and dead anyway. So where did that get you? Where did it get you? Beyond, you stated that you wanted to grow the game, and you say that these things help grow the game. Not in your game, it didn't. So where's the evidence for this?
Know what you're going to get, and you can't confidently boil down what you're doing into a formula. Part of the reason I also think about that when it comes to Wonder is because I had the experience of playing that both on original launch back in 2005, I guess it was, when I was in college, and the relaunch in 2019. And I got to see how a game that is built to be massive and to overwhelm a person or group's ability to completely understand it and boil it down. Okay, if I can say that. I watched how the power of communication and the modern tools we have in 2019 completely dominated the problem of boiling down that game into the best way to play, the right thing to do.
That's part of that, but I've talked about it, or specifically with Deeg before, is that the game, and I've mentioned it in this talk before too, is that the game has been played for 20 years, almost 20 years since. So a game that wasn't formulaic at the beginning and was massive and was supposed to, crush the player under its immenseness. Um, yeah, it turns out when you give people, almost 2 decades to figure it out, they're going to generally do that. Now, the stuff, all the ways that we ingest media and take in information and discuss about, yeah, it was clearly going to be a case that, I mean, this would happen. This does happen with every game now, especially games that have been out for a super long time. So I don't a lot. These guys are so caught up in the sense of wonder and everything. It's the difference between, like, I think me and Deeg are pretty good examples of people who are just completely different when it comes to this. I I when I was growing up and playing games, I was definitely part of that sense of wonder and everything. But at a certain point, you when it comes to games and accepting reality of what they are and how they play and the reality of things, you kind of grow up and get past that little veil of naivety that you have when you go into games and stuff. And for guys like Deeg and Rel, I guess in this case, when they hit that precipice of sitting at the edge of the cliff, they're not willing to take that jump. That taking that jump into accepting the reality of the way things are, it's not that they can't do it, it's just that they don't want to and they don't see a reason to want to, I don't think. That at that point, accepting the reality of the way things are is not palatable. And they would rather not even play games than accept the reality of the situation. I mean, that's fine, I guess. But for me, it was just different when I reached the edge of that thing, and really, I think WoW was the game that did it. But you can see it in other games. As PlanetSide 2, definitely, because the first like year and a half, 2 years of the game, I was a shitter. I was a shitter like everybody else in a Zerg fit with a sense of wonder about the back of the box experience in the game. And then I had the game revealed to me, basically. And at that point, it's either I can quit because I don't like the way it's presented to me, or seeing the inner workings or the man behind the curtain or the way things work isn't palatable or acceptable to me, or I can take that information and make the most out of it and do the best that I can with that new information. And for whatever reason, I can't necessarily speak for Deeg on this, but Rel, as I've watched him design the game, that's something, and even as a content creator, that's something that is just a mental block for that guy. Like he can't grow up. He never grew up and figured out what's good for the reality of the game. Once, like, there seems to be like some childlike ignorance with this guy. That the game desperately needed him to get past if it wanted to do anything or be anything. And unfortunately, as a content creator, he never got past it. as an intern working on the game, he never got past it. As a smaller contributor to the game while being on the team, never got past it. And then when he got in charge of the game, he never got past it. And you see the results. The realities of the game exist. They're black and white. And when you have someone who's ignorant or naive enough to think that not addressing those things, ignoring those things, and focusing on things that don't actually fucking matter, like a fourth faction doesn't fucking matter, capture the flag doesn't fucking matter, a water continent that nobody else doesn't fucking matter, construction doesn't fucking matter. All these things that don't fucking matter become the premier and prime fucking thing for this guy to shove into the game, to say that he's done work for this quarter or something like that. And that's why the game never went anywhere. How could it? How could the game go anywhere when the reason that people don't stick around and play are never, it's just ignored? I don't know.
You see streamers with these add-ons that tell them what to do, which direction to turn, where to walk, who to attack, when to wait for a respawn. It takes all the decision making out of the game.
You can choose not to use those add-ons too, by the way.
It's whatever the opposite of wonder is, that is it. And
But you are also part of a team, and there are people relying on you to be competent. Yeah.
it's not a surprise that anybody would want to eliminate variance. Like that's sort of like a natural competitive urge. The more variance there is, the less you're in control. And the more you're in control, the more likely you are to succeed. The more you care about succeeding, especially when there's a limited pool of people who can succeed, or it's a competition in some way. It's natural that the desire to reduce variance comes out. But I really appreciate that quality. I think a game has to be weird in order to retain that sense. And like if I challenge myself to think of PlanetSide, where it's weird, I guess I come up with like the boat. The boat is weird. I really like the boat. I certainly can't use it all the time, even when I'm on Osher. But God, I just love yeeting myself out of those stupid cannons.
Yeah.
And I think about like
Like,
the new the meatball gun, the Helios.
Right.
Um, like I don't love it, but it's weird. And when you see it, it's like, oh, um,
like this shit, that's cool and all. That's great. But, and I ask it again. What does it foundationally add to your game? How does it make your game better? How does it make your game better at the core of the game where it matters the most? How does having a boat, one vehicle that you can only use on one continent with a specific, like, how does that move the needle for anyone serious? The Helios, the stupid fucking flamethrower thing, like how did that make the game? How did that improve your game? And most of the time they can't answer you in saying that it actually does anything. It's just stuff. It's just more stuff. Here's stuff. Here's stuff. Like, I wish all the energy that we had to come up with stupid shit that the game doesn't need. I wish we could bottle all that energy up, all that creative energy that was used to make Osher and capture the flag and these stupid fucking AoE weapons that are cancer for the game. I wish we could bottle all that up and focus that into like one thing that the game actually needs. You know?
and complaints about explosions. I'm also one of the people that can complain about explosions, so I get it. But
I think it's pretty dope.
Yeah,
That's because you're a fucking moron.
I like
say
their weapon.
more.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's
It's pretty dope. It's pretty dope, man.
I don't know. It's
It's funny you use that word, dope, because that's, well,
it was definitely overtuned there at the start. Hopefully, it's better now. I don't know.
I think it's good when things are
Made some
overtuned
changes
when they
to it.
first come out. Everyone gets to enjoy it.
I yeah. Uh,
No?
I mean, I it's funny. I think that we've been back and forth over this like the pendulum. We've definitely started with stuff that was like undertuned and it worked up. People
Yeah.
complain about it being undertuned and then go the other
Yeah.
direction. But I think even when it comes to the top three examples I could think of with something being overtuned and needing to be reeled in would be the Canis at launch because the unstable ammunition was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
yeah, no, you guys that don't know, man, the unstable ammunition on the Canis, dude, like, you didn't lose headshot uh potential. Like, when that shit came out, it was broken as fuck. And all it took was I think Seth still has a highlight of the first day or two of using the Canis when it first came out. And when you put that weapon in the hands of a good player, like the thing about all this shit where they put stupid shit in the game for retarded shitters, that I was mentioning earlier. When they put stupid shit in the game that retarded shitters can use to get a free kill or a cheap kill, like, they always forget, guys like Rel and these idiotic moron developers always forget that the best players in the game can use the same items. So when a player like Triceros or Seth picks up the launch Canis, and dude, I can't explain to you the fucking absolute farm that gun was. And it's like, yeah, why would you? And then we use it, right? And you're like, why would you put this in the game? Like, this is clearly overtuned, right? It's clearly overtuned. It makes no sense. It's overpowered as fuck. And then the answer that you hear back is, well, of course it's powerful for you guys, but it's like, if you just had anyone remotely competent working on this stuff, and specifically, like, if you had one person in the room who's like, this is fucking nuts and it's going to be crazy. Watch, the best players in the game are going to pick this thing up and fucking annihilate the people that you're putting this dumb shit in the game for. You realize that, right? But that guy never existed. Um, so yeah, the Canis is a great example of and it's not about releasing it overtuned, because when it's not about releasing it overtuned or undertuned, it's about having someone in the room who understands the difference between the two, or someone working on the weapons or in the game that's responsible for fucking design at these ideas that can not land you so far over here or not land you so far over here. It's someone who can meet somewhere in the middle and then go from there. And it's always when you put weapons into FPS games, you very quickly see how intelligent or non-intelligent the people who are responsible for balance are. Because it's one thing, like, if you can't land somewhere, it's okay to be a little too strong or a little too weak or undertuned a little bit. But some of the shit that, like, the launch Canis was just so blatantly and obscenely fucking stupid that the only sense that you get from the people working on the game is that they're fucking clueless retards. Right? And when you get to that point, then you got to start being like, okay, well, if they're that fucking clueless and retarded on things that are extremely black and white and obvious, what about the rest of the game? Surely it's just an outlier that really common sense power tuning for weapons just completely goes over these guys' heads. Yeah, surely that doesn't interact or seep in anywhere else in the game. I'm sure.
The crossbows
Bigger headshot
fragmentation
Oh,
rounds.
hitboxes turn out to be good.
Right. Yeah. Well, when you have the same, so lowering the headshot multiplier, I think, is a really good trade-off.
Mm.
I was just yeah, sometimes you want to use it, sometimes you don't, and that's the
Mhm.
place that you want to be, right? Took a little bit to find that, but we're
I
good.
like the carbine version of that gun. The what's it called?
The Horizon.
Yeah,
brainless shitter gun.
it's fun. Drift.
Every shitter in the game uses that gun. Like,
There's
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Um,
fun. It's a lot of fun. Mindless retard gun for shitters. That's what fun means.
and then the fragmentation rounds on the crossbow were very silly,
I didn't get to
very very
play
very
during
silly.
that. I heard so many complaints though.
Yeah, but you know what? I wonder how many of those, I think maybe 2 weeks of Canis, maybe 1 week of crossbow. I wonder how many people that actually turned off. It's probably more likely to go the other direction, where it's just
Okay. Like, all right. I specifically remember one of the times that Summit 1G came and streamed the game. Do you know what weapon was just recently released? Oh yeah, it was that stupid fucking crossbow. And I specifically remember that guy quitting a fucking stream and not playing the game again because of your stupid like and not all that's it's one thing if it's a regular player. Now really you shouldn't make the distinction between a big streamer and a regular player for the most part. But when it comes to someone who's bringing more eyes to the game than the game will have, more eyes to the game than the game fucking deserves to have, uh, in a long ass time, I don't think you want that to be the visual. I don't think you want the optics of that to be. These devs are fucking stupid because in a lot of ways, when I see Summit play PlanetSide 2, when it gets down to the nitty gritty, Summit's an FPS guy, and he's been playing FPS games for a long time, and it takes Summit an hour of playing the game to come to the conclusions that people like me and all the guys that I've palled around with and played with over time, because we're all FPS guys, right? And you non-FPS guys have a real fucking hard time with this. It's like somebody like Summit can come and play the game for an hour and go, bullet point down the list. This is retarded. This is stupid. This makes no sense. Why is this like this? And for that individual to come and bring his big ass viewer base, and that's what's going on during the time, was the fucking Seeker crossbow garbage shit. How many people actually got turned away from the game? I mean, probably a lot more than you're always talking about trying to grow the game, but this is an example of gross negligence. Because this guy just so happened to stream the game during this, and it was not a pleasant experience for this because everybody was fucking using that thing. It was like the first week. So you wonder why you can't grow the game. And then you do stupid fucking things and you put stupid things in the game, and then some of the repercussions come back and bite you in the ass. But he doesn't even understand.
like, yeah, this is stupid.
Yeah,
I want to use it before it gets nerfed.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that tends to be the reaction more than the opposite.
So here, let me. This is like a very typical gamer reaction in those situations. Is, oh, of course, the new thing that they're going to charge you money for to buy a custom skin for. Of course, that's overpowered. That's good for them and their bottom line. It's cynical business. Does that kind of shit
Right.
ever really happen?
I think that it probably does, but it didn't on our team.
Okay.
Well, I
Yeah, because your game doesn't make any money anyway.
would say that there are some things that we know do well. So, for example, the fact that there was an AV knife in the 7th anniversary bundle, and then you couldn't achieve it in many other ways, except
Mhm.
outside of like limited time stuff.
Mhm.
Like that bundle it does very well,
Mm.
continues to do very well,
A very
and
unique
it's
item.
very right. And it's probably in part because of that. There's actually the bundle's great in general. Like there's so much stuff in there, and
All the
it's
yearly
all very good.
bundles are high value.
That yeah, the 10th
Buy
anniversary one, we
Planetside
could
2 bundles today. Sorry, go on.
yeah. Uh, but I mean, yeah. So some of that stuff probably happens. I think what I just gave an example of is a small example where like we could just kind of let that ride for a little bit. Um,
All right.
but in general, like no, stuff like being way overtuned is not to make money.
See, but like this is my point here. When you have little things, and in the grand scheme of everything, in developing a game, like a little weapon balance thing like that, that's a very small thing. That's just a changing some values on a weapon. It takes some guy fucking 5 minutes to sit down and brainstorm what you can do to that. When you're okay with letting that shit fly, the when you're okay with letting the easy stuff you can fix, just go, and you don't care, what do you think the return is on the big stuff with the big stuff in your game, the big questions, the hard problems? What exactly are you guys doing? Because you're not, for stupid shit like this, you let it ride. And then for big overarching fucking existential problems that your game has, that can also be let it ride, because then you have a game that's just listless, and it feels like there's no hidden hand guiding the development or guiding the way that a healthy game would play. That's always the sense I've got from this game, and it really makes me wonder what the fuck these guys do at the office. What did the guy like? Even right now, it is Friday, December 8th, right? What exactly do the people who, first of all, who's left working on this game, and what the fuck do they do when they go? Do they even go to work? Because I've heard conflicting reports that most of them are not even in the office still for some fucking reason. I don't really know why. Maybe it's because they're not actually doing any work on the game. But what exactly do you guys do at the office? Because you have all this little dumb shit that doesn't get fixed, and then the big questions, the big overarching problems for the game, that doesn't get fixed. What exactly happens? You guys have an 8-hour workday? So to me, it seems like a lot of the people that work on the game, if they are even in studio, they drive to the studio or the parking lot. They get out, they go inside, and then they sit at their little cubicle desk and do fucking fuck all nothing and stare at the wall for 8 hours, and then they go home. Like, what do you guys do at the office? Like, in terms of right now, like with the development of the game and the direction of the game, what do you guys do? I,
It's more likely that there was an oversight or that like something needed to change, but we didn't have enough time to change it before the update was
Mhm.
planned to roll out. Like
Mhm.
that sort of stuff tends to happen.
Mhm.
why does that happen so much? Again, I got to get back to a question I asked earlier. Why does that happen so much? Why does that consistently happen with you? Why did that consistently happen with you? Why was that something that consistently happened with your team and your execution on the game? Why did that happen all the time? Deeg, please ask that question. Why?
But yeah, whatever, man. When that stuff happens, I just think that it's a good time.
I mean, then you can't wonder why you can't grow your game. You know, if you just don't care, then
But maybe I don't know. I think the numbers speak to it being the case too. I don't think that we lose more players than we gain. I think it engages players. I think it's annoying, yeah, and you can't let it go on for too long. But at the same time, it's almost like an event.
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like it feels like an emergent event. Like
for somebody who's so ambitious, maintaining the status quo of just existing, you guys gotta you got to parse this for me, because for some guy who cares so much and is so ambitious about things, to have the attitude that just sitting here floating and being mediocre dog shit is perfectly fine, like, those two don't square with me. I don't know. Somebody's full of shit. Who do you think it is? Is it the people that are defending the guy? Or is it the guy himself? Or are they both full of shit? Which one is it?
Something that is mistakenly overtuned. Like, um, I think I might have brought up this example in a previous conversation of ours. It's kind of
Yeah, but how does that happen? How do you mistakenly overtune something? Do you not test anything? Why don't you guys test your shit?
haunting the back of my brain. But Destiny 2 had an overbuffed exotic called Lord of Wolves for a little while. In PvP, it was just completely abusive. And for whatever reason, they couldn't patch it quickly. I don't know why they couldn't. But instead of fixing it immediately, they said to everyone, "Enjoy the shotgun, folks. And here's a banner to everyone who plays PvP before we fix this."
Oh,
And
that's dope.
yeah, it's everyone's got a cool. I actually use it on my character. I think it's really cool looking. But also because it's like
One of the problems with those games that are on PlayStation and Xbox, and I know this from playing multiple games, is there's a specific process they have to go to get patches validated for through Microsoft and Sony, and those can add delays. Like, you can't just drop a patch, like, you have to go through their verification or some shit kind of process. Now, I don't think it's necessarily like that on PC. I think they could just do that, but for the sake of everybody being on the same shit at all times, I think they usually just, the PC version usually just fucking waits, and they drop all of them at once. Um, but yeah, there is some kind of like verification fucking stage and shit through Sony and Microsoft that can delay updates that could probably happen on PC, but PlanetSide 2 doesn't have that fucking problem, because the console version of PlanetSide 2 hasn't had a relevant update since October 2020. So, yeah, you don't get that excuse.
it's kind of special. Like it's a moment in time, and the community all got to play around with something in a special way.
That's cool, but like, fine. I like how they did that, but for that game, I don't know specifically. I can't say. But for most games, I think that's a one-off. Like, it doesn't happen every single time they do something. Whereas for this game, most of the new shit they add is overtuned, and it's fucking stupid.
That you can't do anymore. I think it's
And I'm just trying to understand why that continually happens. Why is that? Why is that a continued to be a problem?
cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you were talking about when you're speaking of wonder.
Yeah.
The thing that came to my mind was, as far as Planetside 2 as a game, how many times do you play and then something silly happens and it just makes you laugh?
A lot.
Like, yeah, how often does that happen in other games? Like, if I, I'm just like,
It happens all the time in other games. Every game. It happens in every game. Like I said before, this game doesn't have a trademark or the rights to funny moments that happen, that can happen. That's because of shit that happens. That can happen in every game because it's played by people, and people do dumb shit, and people act stupid, and weird shit happens. Like, that's not something that's unique to your game.
charging up a hill and then there's a harasser that comes and gives me a haircut and knocks me over, like, or if there's an aircraft that lands on me. I think there's a lot of vehicle related smishing that makes me laugh a lot, but there's other
It's
stuff
always
too.
funny. Hmm.
uh, that sort of thing, it helps uh, break up the the formula,
Hmm.
and just in laughing, also very healthy.
Hmm.
So I think that's one of those things that is probably difficult to quantify, but also makes Planet Zoo 2 the game that it is.
Yeah, I like that. I think the tension between the fact that you can get good at planet side or parts of it.
All right, I'm gonna stop it there. Yeah, this whole next section, I don't think I'm. This is on the next section's on competitiveness and outfit wars, and it's about, I don't know, fucking 15 minutes or so, which I need an entire episode on that. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. Not as long, almost an hour, keeping it short. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get these out again. I do want to finish this. I don't know how many more sections there are actually going to be. Um, Maybe this will be another like trilogies, because the first part of this I did 3 parts. This might be a 3 part, and then I'll probably be done with it. But I want to finish this before the end of the year, specifically. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll probably record the next section later today or sometime this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. I will see you guys later. Take care of yourselves and stay warm.